All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another YEP webinar. My name is Reddy Tyler. I'm the program director here at YEP. Very excited to welcome you to tonight's session, which I think is extremely timely, and I believe will provide a lot of information that our community is currently searching for as it relates to immigration policies and what these recent updates mean for our community. So with us, we have today Simon Befeqadu, who has graciously given his time to talk through some of these updates from an attorney's perspective. What does it mean? How can we move forward and really kick the conversation off and also take some of your questions? So as this presentation progresses, please make sure you are dropping your questions and comments in the chat so we can make sure we address it and give you the floor to be able to get that answered. So with that said, I'll go ahead and bring Simon onto the stage. Simon, welcome.
Thank you, Reddy, and thank you, YEP, for organizing this event. Very excited to be here. So I do have a presentation. So yeah, as you all know, it's exactly 99 days since the second Trump administration, approaching the 100 days mark. I'm sure a lot of you have been hitting that all over the news, the first 100 days. So what did the past 99 days do for us in terms of immigration? I mean, everybody knows it. It's an open secret that one of the biggest reason why Donald Trump took power in 2025 was because of immigration. It's one of his biggest agenda. So so many changes, over 8 immigration exclusive executive actions, a flurry of court challenges, and everything in between. So my hope today is to kind of go through everything that happened over the past, like I said, 100 days, and analyze what happened, and also kind of understand where this is going to take us in the future, and hopefully just answer your questions or have a discussion and see how you can benefit from the session in terms of protecting yourself. Of course, we're an immigrant community, which is why we're having this session. And I prepared some important things that I thought are going to be helpful for everyone here. That being said, again, we're just going to do the first 100 days. Ready to introduce me, but my name is Simon Befeqadu, Simon Alabacho Befeqadu. I'm an attorney. I'm admitted to practice law in the state of New York, in the Eastern District of New York and the Southern District of New York and federal courts, and can practice immigration all throughout the 50 states and all U.S. territories. So, yeah, today, for the first half hour of this session, we're going to talk about border enforcement and asylum restrictions. I understand necessarily border enforcements or borderline crossings are not usual topics that affect our community, but their overall impact on immigration and enforcement, especially asylum, which we know from fact that a lot of our community benefits from, it's an important area I thought we should touch upon. The second thing is the humanitarian program suspensions and legal immigration pathways. We have changes so far. So what can we do to make sure that we maybe adjust our status from status A to status B? If you're on asylum, what can you do to make sure that you have a more secure immigration in the United States? We're going to talk about interior enforcement actions. This relates to legislations that were passed by the House, as well as the executive actions that are passed by the President Trump. And what do they mean to you? This relates to whether or not you should carry your ID or your I-94, anything like that. And finally, because that's everything that's on the news, we're going to talk about some of the legal challenges to policies. One interesting area is the executive action targeting birthright citizenship. As you all know, the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution guarantees that every person born in the United States is guaranteed to have American citizenship just by virtue of being born here. So Trump executive action seems to curtail that and saying that it does not apply to a certain class of people, mostly undocumented people, which is a very, very aggressive reading of the Constitution. It's currently being challenged by the court. So we're going to talk about stuff like that. We're also going to talk about public and community reactions, mostly because in the United States, at least currently, public reaction has a bigger tendency to shape current and future immigration policies as it does economy or foreign policy and stuff like that. So the first thing, when Donald Trump came to power, the first thing that he did was he claimed that there is a invasion. America has been invaded. A lot of undocumented people. The term they like to use is illegal aliens. This is not a term that I'm very comfortable using, just because I don't think there is any illegal person. But the concept is that America has been invaded, and therefore we need to secure the border, and we need to restrict asylum from those people that cross the border, and then pass legislation and executive action that would limit the number of people that would qualify for a number of programs that they used to qualify in the previous regimes, including first and during his first term, and obviously all his predecessors, including Biden and Obama and all the other presidents that we can think of. So once the very first executive action that he signed is, the Invasion Proclamation. So it kind of grants the government an emergency power to suspend entry of migrants crossing the southern border, saying that if they have applications, then they can process it while remaining in Mexico. So that kickstarted, the very first day in his day of inauguration. This is a very, very strong way to start his immigration policies. So there is a lot of change. I had this chart to kind of show what does Trump 2.0 have for us, only because we're very lucky to live in a timeline where we got to witness Trump from 2016 to 2020, and then interrupted by Biden, and then now he rise to power again for the second time. I mean, it's rare that you get to witness this kind of events in history, but for perspective, we have a number of data to suggest that Trump 2.0 is very serious, and they mean business. And in terms of implementing immigration, policies, and they have much more, broader scope of policy changes, and they're challenging constitutional norms in the United States that rarely, if any, have been invoked. I'm sure you've seen in the news the Alien Invasion Act of 1897. It's a very old law that allows the United States government to deport anyone who is a citizen of a country that the United States is at war with. Meaning that if the United States is openly in war with a country, then they can deport citizens of that country just because of national security ground. It has only been invoked 3 times since the foundation of the Republic, most recently in the Second World War, to put a lot of migrants from Japan into intermittent camps after Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, right? And so it's a very unusual, rarely, if any, invoked law that Trump relied on to say, hey, we need to enforce that because we've been invaded by Venezuelan gangs, and therefore we're going to use that. Now, for our community, or for people who say, I do not belong in a gang, that may not seem like a big deal. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, we're discovering that if you get caught in the middle of this, you might unknowingly be deported. on, to El Salvador, nonetheless to a foreign country, with consequences that we can't even comprehend because we just don't have the framework to compare it from the previous time. So we have a trifecta right now. Trifecta is when all three levels of government, including the executive, the legislative, and the both branch of the legislative, are operated by the same party. And so Republicans currently take control of the Senate as well as the Congress, and obviously the executive branch is run by President Trump. So that gives them a lot more leeway in terms of enforcing this immigration changes. So with what changed, right? Like our most recent president was President Biden, just exactly 100 days ago. Biden he expanded humanitarian pathways. That's access to people to come to the United States that were maybe a victim of war or natural disasters, to come to the United States and find a more legal pathway to remain in the United States. With Trump, it's a complete reversal and a complete elimination of a lot of these policies. With Biden, he narrowed ICE priorities, meaning like ICE was not allowed to go to like churches or courts or schools, hospitals. These common areas where people need to feel safe, that's no longer the case. ICE is now given the authority to go to these places and detain anyone they suspect is an illegal immigrant. This is just a broad overview of what's happening. So we're looking at a very robust enforcement of immigration from the viewpoint of many presidents before this administration. So as you guys can see from the slide, there is a crazy number of decline in terms of the people that cross the border, about 94% lower than last year. So because people are getting apprehended, just overall, the number of people that cross the border is significantly decreased. I have a slide about the effect of recent immigration policies in key sector, just because it's a kind of area that might affect a lot of us. Most of the areas that are affected are agriculture. So we don't fully know what the implication is going to be, but construction, healthcare, and education are mostly the areas that used to employ a lot of people who are undocumented. And the fact that there is a stricter enforcement of immigration laws means that there is a loss of people that work in these sectors, which would lead to a contraction in labor market disruptions or social service impact. And one thing that we have is, for example, healthcare facilities reporting staffing up to 20%. So that's a lot of people, meaning like we have less people to fill these immediate vacancies. One of the most popular program was the U.S. Refugee Admission Program, or USRAP. It allowed, like I said, people that experience war and flee their country because of dire humanitarian situation, such as what happened in Gaza or Afghanistan or Sudan, including our own country, Ethiopia or Eritrea. Once they're vetted, meaning that they're approved by the United States, the government, to be safe, they can come to the United States. That was the policy. But now one of the first things that the new president did was a complete suspension of this program, meaning that there's going to be zero people that will come through this program. This is very stark because before it was an elimination, maybe it was an elimination of a quota, like let's say the previous president would have 100,000 people that they plan to bring during this program. And the new president might say, look, listen, it's just only 20,000. Now it's 0 people, which shows you the level of the level they're going to achieve their goals. One interesting thing that I thought is going to help a lot of people, I know there's a significant number of Ethiopians that are on the TPS program. A TPS program is the temporary protected status that allows certain people from certain countries that are designated by the United States government to stay in the United States until the condition in their country has improved. Ethiopia was designated a TPS status of, I believe, in 2023, and then was redesignated in 2024, which is going to last until December of 2025. Right now, we do not know what this means. We don't know if what it's going to be extended. The hope or the expectation in a lot of the immigrant community is going to be that it's not going to be extended, just because from the previous experience. The Trump administration effectively ended the Venezuela designation, another TPS beneficiary, on February 5th, Haiti's protection on August 3rd, and they didn't say that the country's condition has improved, or provide any evidence that the people here can go back to their country because the very reason they were designated a TPS has improved. So that's what we have. Again, if you're an Ethiopian with a TPS status, you have until December 2025. You can legally work if you have work permit until December 2025. At this moment, we do not know what's going to happen to the TPS. So that's where we are. One of the hopes for a lot of people was when Trump came, he promised that, listen, we're going to, my problem is with people that's crossing the border. What I'm going to do is greatly expand employment visas and legal immigration. So that's not what happened yet again. In fact, even with employment visas and legal immigration, we have extreme vetting that's happening, meaning that they're scrutinizing every application, rising requests for evidence. Request for evidence, or RFE, is a tool the USIS, or the agency that process any immigration application, use to ask for more questions. Say, for example, if I apply for a green card based on marriage, they can ask for information to determine that it's what they call a bona fide marriage, meaning that it was not entered into induce immigration benefits. So they can ask 100 questions. And the fact that it takes so much time adds into a lot of uncertainty and anxiety to a lot of the immigrant community. So that's basically what's happening with the H-1Bs, or honestly any employment-based visa categories. So that's what we have. Also, if you have a mom or a brother or a dad or a significant other from a different country who is visiting for the first time, chances of them getting a visa is slightly lower now. The chart here shows that the number of visas that were issued by the two recent administrations, including the current one, the first 100 days, across all boards, you can see that the number of visas that were issued to the people have significantly decreased. It's sad, but that's what it is. And if you're a student in the United States, an F1, if you're especially a STEM graduate, like science and technology, we have the OPT program, which allows students to work in the United States after they graduated. Now that program might be scrapped. There is an increased discussion from this administration saying that, hey, we're not interested in maintaining that program. So we do not know yet what's going to happen under that program. But there was a specific program for STEM graduates that was, made available by the Biden era, which is now withdrawn. One of the things that you're going to see is also slower visa processing and adjudications. If you already have an application to bring your mom or your dad for immigration purposes, not for a visit, you'll see that we're experiencing slower than usual processing and adjudication times. Interior enforcement measures. Again, this is one area where we're seeing the administration taking an extremely aggressive enforcement. I briefly touched upon this when I started the presentation, but before there were areas deemed sensitive, and especially the Biden era had a policy of not enforcing immigration arrests at schools, churches, at protests, hospitals, what have you. Those are no longer the case. They've been rescinded, which means that, again, ICE can go to these places and arrest all these people they deem are here illegally. We have, I like to talk about the Laken Riley Act. For those of you who don't know, Laken Riley is a young person who tragically lost her life in Georgia by a non-documented immigrant. After she passed away, the Congress passed a law called the Laken Riley Act that basically makes it a crime, make it an immigration offense if someone was arrested but not charged. What does this mean? Let's say someone accused me of stealing candy. I was just at the coffee shop. I was at the grocery store, and then I was going through something, and I pick up a candy, and the store owner accused me of stealing a candy. Now, police came and arrested me, went to the prison, and they searched me, and turns out I actually returned the candy back to the shelf. Now, the very fact that I was accused of stealing could be a bar for my immigration benefits. If I was applying to be a permanent resident, if I was applying to get married, to get green card for marriage, or if I was adjusting my status from student to, say, H-1B or what have you, the very fact that this happens could actually derail my chance of staying in the United States. So we're looking at extremely aggressive, measures by the Trump administrations. There's a bunch of stuff that's in here. I'd be happy to discuss this. The other thing that we have is legal challenges to policies. So many things are happening by the Trump administration. We kind of briefly went over them. What that means is, at the same time, there is a reaction to a number of the policies. People are increasingly suing the administration for temporarily enjoining the administration from enacting these policies, or to declare a number of these executive actions unconstitutional, thereby rendering them of no effect. Case in point is the birthright citizenship order. There was a nationwide preliminary injunction. A preliminary injunction is issued by courts temporarily to halt any law that is considered to be prejudicial to other people. The Supreme Court is going to hear a portion of this argument in May of 2025. So we're like actually a few days away from hearing what's going to be one of the most consequential constitutional challenges in a very long time in American history. So there's a lot of litigation that's happening. And there is also a mandatory registration lawsuit. So this is for people that overstayed their visa or that cross their border, but don't have any fingerprinting or have any official proof that they actually registered in the United States. So that does not include people that have green cards. That does not include people who are citizens. That does not include people who are students or anyone who's here for a visit, say with a B1, B2 visa. This is only applicable to people who overstayed their visa or cross the border and don't have any papers. They would have to go to their a USCIS location, give their fingerprints, and give the current address to the USCIS and carry an ID with them at all times. And it's also currently being litigated. So it's a current law, meaning that if you ever overstayed your visa, you have to make sure you get registered within 30 days of the proclamation, which already passed. But you may want to talk to an attorney near you to determine that you're not going to be in trouble for this one. We've already talked about the Alien Inamisat deportation. Some of the lawsuits look like this. And the other thing is public and political reactions. So the public is extremely divided across like political spectrum. Obviously, the reason why Donald Trump came to power is because of immigration. I mean, if anything, it's immigration and economy. Those are the two biggest issues that propelled him to his presidency. And in fact, that he claims mandates because he won the popular vote as well as the electoral vote. So a lot of Republicans strongly support mass deportation. They also support, deporting people without due process. A number of people, however, across political party oppose ending birthright citizenship. So that's something. It works. And there is also a divided public opinion on major issues, including the Venezuelan immigrant who was deported to El Salvador, which the government admitted was done in error. Regardless, people are divided about it. And I'm sure if a number of you have seen the news, students that protest in college campuses, their visa or their green card is being revoked. One of them is Mohammed Kahil. I don't know if you guys ever heard of him. So the public is having a very divided opinion. And public opinion is key because, again, it affects policies, that, especially long-lasting policies that would have detrimental effect on U.S. immigration for the upcoming time. There is a number of protests and advocacy that's happening throughout the nation. One was in February. It's called A Day Without Immigrants. And then there is, of course, a widespread fear in immigrant communities. I get a lot of phone calls about people saying, "What should I do? What should I carry? Is what I do enough? Does this concern me? Does this affect me?" It's all fair to be concerned. It's all fair to be worried, but also just understanding that you're doing the right thing and making sure you have your proper documentation. Or also, if you're eligible to adjust your status to a more formidable legal status is advisable. There is a bunch of battle between state and federal tensions. some states such as New York, which is where I live, are more friendly to immigrants, or Maryland, an even more friendly state to immigrants. There is a bit of tension between what the administration accuses a sanctuary city and the federal government. So you're going to see bigger enforcements taking place in a lot of these states that are considered to be sanctuary. Okay. So much happened over the past 100 days. So it's really hard to predict what the future is going to be. And honestly, anyone who's going to say that the future is going to look like XYZ, 100% it's either lying or they don't know what they're talking about, because there's just so much dynamic across everything that happens that would influence where we're going as a nation. But we do know a number of these executive actions signed by the president, or the number of legislations that passed by the legislature, are going to have a lasting impact, and the number of immigration. For example, yesterday I read a news that the House is actually proposing to have a rule that would require asylum applicants to pay a fee. Right now, to apply for asylum, it's absolutely free. Anyone who's claiming fear of prosecution from their home country do not have to pay a single dime to apply for asylum. Now they're trying to change the law to see if to charge people to pay up to $1,000 per application. As you know, a lot of people who flee their country, they do not have the resources to be able to afford this kind of money. And so it's going to be an interesting, certainly depressing watch as we go in the future. There is obviously going to be a number of shortages and, like in economic drivers. And we don't even know what it's going to look like for all these people to be deported, and the regional stability, for especially considering a number of millions of people are from South America, and having to deport all of these people back, we don't know what the consequence is going to look like. This is perhaps the slide that I want to focus on. If you're any traditional routes, we're talking about legal immigration pathways. So there is still a lot of good available legal immigration pathways. And unlike illegal immigration or what's considered to be undocumented immigration, the president rarely have the authority to change legal immigration. Case in point is the diversity visa lottery, or the DV, which is, a lottery that's done every year. And, the reason why we have so many people from our country in the United States. So it's to change that requires congressional approval, and that's not easy. So it still remains a viable option to people who are even in the United States and just don't have a green card. And so that is something to explore. If you're in a student visa, you may explore employment-based visas such as like EB-2, or what we call an employment preference visa. I have a chart here of the likelihood or the number of, the more successful case rates for the kind of cases. We have TPS 15%. The reason that is small is because we typically cannot predict how long TPS is going to be an option. Like I tried to touch up on earlier, HFS designation might end in December of 2025. Is it going to be extended? Is it not going to be extended? We do not know. Refugee status was once a really safe and secure way for people to come to the United States, and after a certain period of time would be eligible for a green card, and then eventually to their citizenship. That option is now down to zero, so that's no longer applicable. If you're an asylum applicant, you may be called upon for your asylum interview at any time. So it's important that you collect and document all of your evidence. Give a call to your attorney if you have one, or if you don't have one, maybe retain an attorney to make sure that you're prepared for the questions that are going to come from USCIS regarding your asylum. Again, diversity visa at 43%. That's a really good chance. If you draw the lottery for DV, it's going to be a great one. Family preference is for people who are already in the country, and they're bringing in their wives, the symmetrical up or horizontal, like meaning like your dad or your mom or your wife or husband, stuff like that, or your kids. Again, we have an employment-based category that's a third base. It's for people who are considered to be low skill. So if you're a maid, or if you're a caterer, or if you're work in agriculture, or an area that doesn't necessarily require an expertise, or that could be acquired within less than 2 years, you could qualify for this kind of visa. So this may be a great option for some people to explore, because they indeed lead to a green card. These are not just visas; these are actually green cards. The other one is obviously no-brainer. It's a marriage to a U.S. citizen. That does not need to be discussed. The other one is for employment-based first preference. And yep, I understand there is a lot of professionals. There's actually quite a number of people that qualify for this kind of visa. I'm not going to the details of what qualifies for an EB1 visa, but it's mostly reserved for doctors and researchers, or professors, or people who have an accomplished area of expertise in their field. They could apply for this visa, and then the turnaround is very quick. You get it. And then the second one is employment-based second category. That's also a really good chance. It encompasses way more people. It's very similar to the first preference. While the first preference is quicker, the second preference is a little bit slower, but the kind of people that qualify for this program are different. And then again, if you have millions of dollars, you can apply for the EB5 investment visa. That's if you're an investor, and right now, if you can invest up to $1.2 million, or something I don't have in the graph, you can apply for the Trump card, which costs $5 million and would get you your green card. So if you have $5 million to spare, you can apply for the Trump card, or the gold card, it's called. Just before I conclude my presentation, I just want to talk about what you could do to make sure that you stay in touch. I know it's very overwhelming. For me, it doesn't feel like just 100 days. It feels like eternity. Just there is an onslaught of news that's happening every single day. Just make sure that if you have a USCIS account, and you currently have your immigration that's pending again in the USCIS, make sure that you have set up a custom USCIS or CBP alert if you're going through this. Definitely subscribe to a legal newsletter that does immigration, especially give you updates on trendy topics, or whatever is going on. And then if you don't have an attorney but you have a case, an immigration case, it's high time that you need to consult with an immigration attorney. You also have resources. in your area, depending on where you live, they might be different. But you have legal aids and community groups and professional networks like YEP, or legal aids that provide free legal service depending on your ability to pay. There is also a number of support groups that have, bar associations that provide pro bono service. A bar association refers to a group of lawyers that are in a group. So, they have, as part of their giving back, they have a pro bono service. So one of the um, areas they like to contribute is immigration. So you may reach out to your bar association in your area. You could simply look up, if you're in Washington, D.C., you could say DC Bar Association Pro Bono Service, or Virginia, if you're in Alexandria, you could say Alexandria Pro Bono Service, something like that, and just find the resource that would be helpful to you. Or when in doubt, you can always reach to YEP, and I'm sure they will be very happy to help you. That being said, there is a number of resources that help me, even though I'm an attorney and I practice this daily. Um, One of my favorite is the NAFSA tracker. It kind of tracks all the executive and regulatory actions under the second Trump administration. There is over 147 of them so far in just 100 days, across all areas, including education, including the economy and immigration, and renaming of the Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America, stuff like that. All this, so you could see an up-to-date tracker of all the executive actions under the second Trump administration. Definitely subscribe to the American Civil and Liberties Union, or ACLU's docket of immigration court cases, if you have the interest or if you want to know what's going on. There are some good firms that, like Ogletree Deacons. They're a law firm that specialize in immigration law. You could refer to their website, because they actually write a number of topics on immigration. Yeah, and again, I should have said this earlier, but this content is really current as of April 29, which is today. But this, in any way, for anyone who's watching now or watching at another time, it's not intended to be obviously a legal advice, or it's not supposed to scare you or give you hope or anything like that. It's just only an information session. And obviously it does not, because I have to say it does not establish an attorney-client relationship. Never take your advice from stuff like this. Just make sure you go to an attorney and bring your individual questions, and make sure you because everybody situation is very specific to them. I just want to preface that, and then that's my presentation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Simon. There was a lot of information. As you said, it's a lot to witness, but also just a lot to even think about unpacking. But I think you touched on a lot of really great points. I do want to encourage folks that are viewing this, please drop any questions, discussion items in the comments. We'll be sure to address it. I know I took some notes on specific topics you mentioned that I found to be very interesting, wanted to dive a little bit deeper on the topic of resources and information. When you started this presentation, it really dawned on me, there is a lot of misinformation on a lot of different things, right, in today's world. And part of our goal at YEP and having webinars such as this one is to be able to bring facts to the community. That way, people are making informed decisions. You touched on a few different newsletters. Perhaps people can subscribe to specific firms that specialize in immigration. That could be a good resource. But just wanted to make that point of, not all the information you see, be it on different social media platforms, be it from individual conversations, may be true and up to date. Also knowing that things change by the hour. So just wanted to kind of drive that point home and give you another opportunity to add if there's any other resources for getting factual current information that you might want to recommend.
So a lot of this resource, I mean, obviously, people definitely need to check official resources. I understand that it could be overwhelming, or if you don't have the trainings to understand statutes or executive orders, or if it's long and boring, it may be daunting to. But official resources such as the Congressional Research Service, there's very good resource. Even including the White House, because they're the one who push a lot of this executive order. And then you can kind of see, just read through like any executive order and see, oh, is this something that applies to me? Does it, a lot of it is intended to be the public. It's not intended to be just for attorneys. The hope is that someone who can read and speak English can actually understand it, and therefore it's for public consumption. And I encourage people to actually check official resources, not even news reports, because oftentimes they don't get it right. So like, just make sure that you check the official report. Please do not get your advice from TikTok, please. Just I'm begging people to watch out for themselves. There's a lot of people who feel like they know stuff, or they say it in such an authority, like it sounds so true. How could it not be true? But oftentimes that's how social media works. And never ever get your legal advice from TikTok or Instagram or what have you. Definitely go to an attorney if you can, even if it's just like for an initial consultation, if it's just an hour or 30 minutes, just because an attorney has his license on the line and will always make sure that they research and give you the best possible advice, because there's so many moving factors, even as an individual, that do not necessarily apply to a lot of people. There could be compounding factors that you haven't thought of, and a bunch of other stuff. So please do not get your advice from TikTok, and do not, if you're applying for asylum, please do not have what we call a case writers in the Washington, D.C. area. Please do not have them do your asylum application, because those are going to have lasting damage on your application. If not now, then certainly when it's time for you to apply for your green card and eventually your naturalization. So these are a bunch of, definitely the Associated Press is a really great source of information. Regarding the GoTamist and Call Matters are usually for border related advocacy, but like these are some of the official resources that are helpful.
Yeah, that is extremely helpful.
Yeah.
To kind of dovetail into a point you made around, especially if you're in the process, it's even more important to understand where you're getting information and where you're getting help from. And you touched on it a little earlier around if you are potentially in one specific status, you could look at moving into different status. I presume maybe a good deal of the folks listening in might already be right in the middle of a process, right? So what does that look like for them today? Is it potentially slowing down much more because the administration is focusing on some of these other actions? Is it creating a backlog and increasing that time frame for a response? What is that looking like?
It's not looking good in all shapes, but it's certainly a much better idea if you go through a more permanent one. Even if it's going to take you more time, it just might be worth it. So let's say you're a student and you work in tech, you work with the AI, because that's what everything is about nowadays, right? So it's considered to be of a significant interest to the United States, and in fact, including the current administration, encourages people in that area to invest and help the United States be on the edge of competition, especially with China. So one particular visa that you could qualify for is an EB1 or EB2 visa. which is a green card. If you're approved, it means you get a green card. So if you're a student and you're actually working on OPT, which is an optional training program, a lot of students would know this. Jump on that opportunity. Apply for a more permanent legal pathway. Like, don't be like, oh, I'm just gonna figure this out when this is over, or I'm gonna. There may be more appealing options for you that you have not considered now, that probably is gonna change your life. So I that's what I would say. Even if that they're going to require more evidence, even if it's going to be costly initially, it's going to lead you to a much more strong outcome than it would if you continue with your student visa or your OPT program.
Okay, I think it looks like we're having some technical difficulties. So as we wait for Simon to hopefully join back in, please drop any questions or comments and we'll address them in the next few minutes that we have. Simon, welcome back. Of course, it would not be a webinar unless we have technical difficulties. So glad we at least got through sort of the meat and important areas here, but wanted to ask a couple of more questions. In terms of the TPS, you mentioned specifically for Ethiopia, it is designated through December 2025, but there's no, decision yet around will it renew or not. Could you at a high level kind of talk through what the path for renewal would be? So what would folks that are currently protected by that temporary status, what would life look like right after it's been renewed versus not, right? What are those two different alternate paths that could exist?
Yeah, so it's renewed by DHS, which is the Department of Homeland Security, that ultimately have the say under the executive branch. Simply what they say is, has the country condition improved? Has it improved? Initially, Ethiopia was designated a TPS status because of the war in northern Ethiopia, the Tigray War, commonly known as the Tigray War. And the government thought, okay, we need to protect people that are already in the country because of the ongoing war, because people are being displaced and it's really hard on a lot of people. So the designation initially started as such. And when it was only temporary, it was only for a year. But when it comes time, they renewed it again because the conditions back home have not improved. So that's what they look into it. And now, before they extend it, they're going to ask the same question. Has the situation improved? My suspicion, my educated guess is going to be things have not improved. Unfortunately, revoking status such as this one is aligned with everything that the current administration has done. Because if you look at Haiti, Haiti has been in the civil war, gang violence for God knows how many years, and the TPS has been in place for many years. Just keep getting renewed and renewed and renewed, and it allows the people that are already in the United States to be protected from deportation and to get work permits, and then they establish families. They have U.S. born children. They have marriages and all that stuff. And now all of a sudden it's revoked. So I do not anticipate that it's going to be renewed. But the good thing about TPS is also if possible, you could adjust your status. So let's say if you're a student that came here and then apply for a TPS while your first visa was valid, then you may still have an opportunity to adjust to something before your TPS expire, because it's a placeholder. It doesn't necessarily bar you from anything, or it doesn't necessarily grant you any long-term benefits. So I encourage folks to definitely look into options and see how, if I want to stay in this country, what can I do to make sure that I'm going to be here long term. And there's a bunch of options that are available that simply, especially our community, is not taking advantage of, or is just they don't think it's available for them.
Okay, yeah, that definitely makes sense. To kind of round out this very detailed, informative session, Simon, I want to give you the chance to kind of protect themselves in today's immigration climate, be it if that's interaction regarding their immigration status, if it's some of the information and where you find your sources, anything that you've touched upon or perhaps have not. What would be 3 major points that you'd want the audience to walk away with?
Well, that's a good question. I 3 things. It's I don't want to blurt the first thing that comes to my mouth, so let me just think. There is definitely a change. So for a long time, the United States immigration policy has been family-based reunification, meaning that I come to the United States and then I bring my wife, and then my wife brings her dad, and then I bring my mom, and then that's how everybody is here, and then that's called family reunification. And one of the biggest target of this current administration is the elimination of family-based reunification. So, if you have any application for any of your family members back home or anything like that, you got to start acting right now, and acting fast, and making sure you have to do whatever you have to do to have your documents ready to. That's a longer version of what a takeaway, but times are changing. Things are moving fast. It's no longer like business as usual. Know your rights. You may be caught up in a lot of unfortunate and unnecessary mix-up with ICE, or simply a minor inconvenience on traffic stops, or a minor brawl with someone at your favorite local joint might have some serious immigration consequence. So know your rights. Be updated. It's no longer time you can just take it for granted. Things are changing, and you better believe they're going to come to your door. But also, to kind of close this out in a very hopeful note, there's so many opportunities for a number of people that are already in the country to benefit from, and essentially cut their, even if you're an asylum applicant, which I know a lot of people are, you could opt for a much better and quicker immigration routes, such as like the EB2 and EB1 visa. So that's what I would say.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much, Simon. This was a wealth of knowledge that you've shared with us. Really hope that our audience is able to take those 3 points and much more from this conversation and apply it to their current situation and status. We thank everyone for participating. Again, Simon, thank you for giving your time. With that, I would encourage everyone listening in. Oh, hopefully you all can hear me. I'd encourage everyone tuning in. Please stay connected with us on all social media at YEP Network. We have a lot of exciting events, programming, initiatives this year. So we look forward to seeing you on these virtual webinars and absolutely in our in-person events. So please be on the lookout for those. We will keep our social medias updated with that information. But with that, I'd like to, again, thank everyone for joining. Thanks, Simon, and hope you all have a great evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.